$830 million. That is how much gold sits in the cargo hold of a single passenger flight leaving Dubai International Airport. 5 tons of refined bullion mined in Africa, processed in the Emirates, and routed to buyers in India, China, and Singapore. On any given day, dozens of these flights depart. Billions of dollars in physical metal moving silently beneath the feet of business travelers and tourists. It is the largest precious metals air bridge on the planet, and as of Saturday, it is completely shut down. Iranian missile and drone strikes hit Dubai International Airport, Jebel Ali Port, and civilian infrastructure across the city. Emirates Airlines suspended all flights through Wednesday night. Etihad halted operations until Thursday. Over 21,000 flights have been canceled across 7 major Gulf airports since the strikes began, and those flights weren't just carrying passengers. They were carrying 20% of the world's physical gold and silver supply. Right now, as you're watching this, gold bars worth billions are sitting on pallets at Heathrow Airport with nowhere to go. Logistics companies in London have filed formal withdrawal notices for shipments that completed customs declarations but cannot move forward because every route through Dubai is closed. Traders in Mumbai are scrambling to find metal that was supposed to arrive this week. And the single most important transit hub for physical precious metals between Europe, Africa, and Asia is offline with no confirmed date for resumption. Here is what nobody in the financial media is connecting for you. Yesterday, silver crashed $12 in a single session. The paper price on COMEX fell to $82. And every headline screamed sell-off and correction. But at the exact same time that paper price was collapsing, the physical supply chain that actually delivers real silver to real buyers in real markets was being severed. The paper market said silver is going down. The physical world said silver cannot be moved at any price. One of these stories is true. The other is a fiction maintained by an exchange in Chicago. And the gap between the two just became the widest it has ever been. This is not a war story. This is a supply chain story. And it has consequences for every ounce of physical silver on Earth. To understand why Dubai matters more to the price of silver than anything the CME does, we need to follow the metal from the mine to your hands, because that journey just broke. Most people think of Dubai as a luxury destination, skyscrapers and shopping malls. But inside the precious metals industry, Dubai is something far more critical. It is the central nervous system of global bullion logistics. In 2025, the United Arab Emirates imported over $100 billion in gold and exported just under $80 billion. That makes it the second largest gold exporter on the planet and the single most important transit point between where precious metals are produced and where they are consumed. Here's how the pipeline works. Gold and silver are mined primarily in Africa, South America, and Australia. Raw material flows to refineries, the largest concentration of which sits in Switzerland and the UAE. Once refined into London good delivery bars, the standard that trades on the LBMA and COMEX, the metal needs to get to the buyers, and the buyers are overwhelmingly in Asia, India, China, Japan, South Korea, Singapore. The most cost-effective way to move 5 tons of gold, that's roughly $830 million at current prices, is in the cargo hold of a commercial passenger flight. Not a dedicated freighter, a regular passenger plane. The economics are remarkable. Transport costs come in under $1 per ounce per trip. Insurance covers the cargo up to a tonnage cap. And the metal moves from London or Zurich through Dubai to Mumbai or Shanghai in under 24 hours. This system works beautifully when planes are flying. When they stop, it doesn't just slow down, it seizes completely because there is no viable alternative. Ground transport through the Gulf region requires armed escorts, tripled insurance premiums, 300 to 500% higher than aviation, and cross-border security protocols that take weeks to arrange. Maritime shipping is too slow for a market that reprices by the second. And right now, the Strait of Hormuz, the sea route, is itself under active military threat from Iranian forces. If this is starting to reveal a picture you haven't seen before, subscribe and hit the bell. Because I'm about to show you what happens when the physical market and the paper market tell completely opposite stories at the same time. Now let me show you what happened in the 48 hours after Dubai went dark. India is the world's largest consumer of gold and a massive buyer of silver. Indian domestic gold prices had been trading at a discount of $50 per ounce below London prices. That discount exists because the supply pipeline is so efficient. Metal flows from London through Dubai to Mumbai in a day, and the abundance of supply keeps Indian prices below the global benchmark. Within 48 hours of the Dubai shutdown, that $50 discount evaporated completely. Indian prices snapped to full parity with London. $50 of price movement in 2 days. Not because demand surged, but because supply stopped arriving. That is the physical market doing what the paper market refuses to do, repricing for reality. And it's not just India. Saudi Arabian bullion premiums spiked immediately. Singapore traders reported difficulty sourcing metal. And silver, which was already in a structural supply deficit before a single missile hit Dubai, just lost its most important logistics corridor between Western refiners and Eastern industrial consumers at the exact moment COMEX is entering its heaviest delivery month in modern history. Now let me connect Dubai to what's happening on COMEX right now, because when you see both pictures together, the scale of this dislocation becomes staggering. As we covered yesterday, March 2026 is a delivery month. Over 52 million ounces of silver are standing for delivery against 86 million ounces of registered inventory. That inventory was already the lowest in 20 years, down 64% from 2020 levels. And the mechanism for actually delivering that silver, getting it from London vaults through the global transit network to the people demanding it, just lost its primary artery. 80% of internationally traded gold moves by commercial aviation. The number for silver is comparable. London is the world's largest over-the-counter precious metals market. Dubai is the critical transit hub between London and Asia, and both the air route through Dubai and the sea route through the Strait of Hormuz are simultaneously closed. Think about that for a moment. The two primary pathways for physical precious metals to move from the Western financial system to Eastern physical buyers are both shut down at the same time during the largest COMEX delivery month in history, with registered inventories at multi-decade lows. And here is where it gets even more alarming. The Financial Times reported that some logistics carriers at Heathrow are now handling what traders call blocked exports. These are shipments that completed customs declarations for transit through Dubai, but can no longer move. The declarations have to be formally withdrawn before the metal can be rerouted, adding days of bureaucratic delay on top of the physical impossibility of transit. One trader quoted by the FT put it simply, "There is currently no movement in the air. Nothing is moving anywhere by air right now." Meanwhile, the few passenger flights that did depart from Dubai on Tuesday carried no gold cargo. Airlines prioritized perishable goods, food and medicine, over bullion, which means even as flights slowly resume, precious metals will be at the back of the line for cargo space. The industry estimates that full normalization of Dubai bullion flows requires not just the resumption of flights, but the rebuilding of security protocols, insurance reassessments, and logistics chain verification. Even after the first commercial flight lands, it could take weeks before metal moves at pre-crisis volumes. Now layer China on top of this. As of January 1st, 2026, China's new export licensing system limits silver exports to just 44 authorized companies. China controls 60 to 70% of the world's refined silver supply. Their exports are already gated. India just lost its Dubai supply line. London has metal sitting on pallets that can't leave. COMEX is facing the biggest delivery demand in its history. And the paper market, the one that sets the price the entire world uses, says silver is worth $82. I have a question. If you cannot physically move silver from where it is to where it's needed, if the planes are grounded, the sea lanes are closed, the Chinese exports are licensed, and COMEX vaults are 64% depleted, what exactly is the paper price measuring? Because it's not measuring the cost of acquiring physical silver in Mumbai today, or Shanghai, or Tokyo, or Dubai. In every single one of those markets, the actual cost of acquiring real metal is materially higher than what COMEX shows on the screen. There's a historical parallel for exactly what's happening right now, and it's one the banks would prefer you not remember. In March 2020, when COVID shut down international travel, the same London to New York precious metals air bridge collapsed. Flights stopped. Physical gold could not be moved from LBMA vaults in London to COMEX delivery points in New York. The result was a price dislocation that blew out to $70 per ounce between London spot and New York futures, the largest gap in decades. And who profited? The institutions that already held physical metal in the right locations. JPMorgan, specifically, was able to exploit the arbitrage because it had metal in COMEX-approved vaults, while competitors scrambled to move gold across the Atlantic on chartered military transport planes. The same playbook is running again, right now. JPMorgan holds physical silver in COMEX vaults. It took delivery of 99% of all January COMEX silver notices, 8.1 million ounces. It was the dominant participant in February deliveries at $78. And now, with a Dubai air bridge down, with London metal stranded, with Asian premium spiking, the bank that holds physical metal in the delivery system has an enormous advantage over every trader, every refiner, and every industrial buyer who depends on the global logistics chain to source their silver. This is not conspiracy theory. This is logistics. This is what happens when you control physical metal in a market where physical delivery has become impossible for everyone else. And the paper price, the one the CME sets through its futures market, is the tool that keeps the acquisition cost low while the physical world tightens around everyone who does not have metal in hand. Here's the question I want you to sit with, because it has direct implications for your financial decisions. If Dubai's shutdown lasts 1 week, premiums spike, traders scramble, and the market resets once flights resume, Uncomfortable but survivable. If it lasts 1 month, if this war drags on, if Iran continues to hit UAE infrastructure, if Gulf airspace remains restricted, then the 20% of global gold and silver flow that transits through Dubai does not just pause, it restructures. Buyers in Asia find alternative sources. Premiums harden into permanent price tiers. The paper-physical disconnect becomes a structural feature, not a temporary anomaly. And the COMEX price becomes increasingly irrelevant to the actual cost of silver in the physical world. We are 3 days into this shutdown. Emirates has extended cancellations repeatedly. Etihad has pushed its timeline back twice. Iran has shown no indication of de-escalation. And unlike COVID, which had a visible trajectory toward vaccine development and reopening, a shooting war has no predetermined timeline. Nobody can tell you when Dubai airspace returns to normal. Not the airlines, not the Pentagon, not the traders watching their metal sit on pallets at Heathrow. Drop your analysis in the comments. If you're a physical silver holder, I want to know, are you seeing premiums rise at your local dealer? Are products disappearing from inventory? Because the data I'm seeing suggests that the squeeze is already reaching the retail level. And the mainstream financial media hasn't even begun to connect these dots. Some of the best intelligence on this channel comes from this community. Now let me show you why this particular moment, this exact convergence, is different from any supply disruption in modern precious metals history. Let me stack everything on top of each other, because it's only when you see the full picture that the magnitude becomes clear. Layer 1. The silver market has been in a structural supply deficit for 5 consecutive years. Cumulative shortfall, 820 million ounces. Annual mine production hasn't kept pace with industrial demand from solar, semiconductors, EVs, and AI infrastructure. That deficit existed before any of the following layers. Layer 2. COMEX registered inventory has collapsed 64% in 5 years, from 240 million ounces to 86 million. The metal that's supposed to back the paper market is draining at an accelerating rate. January deliveries were 7 times normal. February set an all-time record. March has 52 million ounces standing. Layer 3. China locked down silver exports on January 1st. 60 to 70% of the world's refined silver supply is now gated through 44 authorized companies. The largest refiner on earth just put a governor on the pipeline. Layer 4. The CME has executed 4 margin-induced crashes in 90 days. December, January, February, and yesterday. Each crash suppresses the paper price while physical demand tightens. The weapon works on futures traders. It does not create a single ounce of physical silver. Layer 5. As of Saturday, Dubai, the transit hub for 20% of global precious metals flow, is offline. 21,000 flights canceled. Billions in bullion grounded. The primary air bridge between Western vaults and Eastern buyers has been severed by a war with no end date. Layer 6. The Strait of Hormuz, the sea alternative, is simultaneously closed by the same conflict. There is no air route and no sea route for physical metal to flow between the world's supply centers and its largest demand centers. No single one of these layers has existed in isolation before, and certainly not all 6 simultaneously. In 1980, there was no supply deficit. In 2011, there was no physical logistics crisis. In 2020, there was no war closing both air and sea routes. In every previous disruption, at least some of the supply chain remained functional. Right now, in March 2026, every single node in the physical silver supply chain is under stress at the same time. I want to be transparent about uncertainty. I don't know when Dubai reopens. I don't know whether the war escalates further or winds down. I don't know whether the CME will raise margins again to crash the paper price below 80. These are real variables that can move in either direction. What I do know is that no margin hike, no paper short, no algorithm can create physical silver. And right now, the physical silver that exists in the world cannot get to the people who need it. That is not an opinion. It is a logistics fact confirmed by the Financial Times, Bloomberg, and every major trader operating in the Gulf. Here's what's in your control. Not the war, not the CME, not JPMorgan's delivery schedule. What's in your control is understanding that the paper price on your screen and the physical reality in the market are now operating in 2 different universes. One is set by an exchange in Chicago that can change the rules whenever it wants. The other is set by how many planes are flying, how many ships are sailing, and how many ounces actually exist in vaults that can deliver them. Yesterday, every headline said, silver crashed. Today, the Financial Times says gold and silver cannot physically move through the world's most important transit hub. One of those stories will be forgotten by Friday. The other will reshape the market for months. And the only question is which one you're paying attention to. 20% of the world's gold and silver pipeline is locked. The planes are grounded. The sea lanes are closed. The vaults are draining. And the screen says $82. That screen has never been less connected to reality than it is right now.